Dark, stormy night. Heavy rain pours over New York City. A sleek black Rolls-Royce stops outside a grand mansion. The headlights flicker, illuminating a woman standing in the rain, her face hidden under a hood. She stares at the mansion with trembling hands, whispering. Lena whispers, 2 years. 2 years, Alexander. And you never came for me. Lightning strikes. The camera zooms inside the mansion. A tall, broad-shouldered man stands by the fireplace, a glass of whiskey in his hand. His sharp jawline tightens as he stares at an old photograph of her. His lost wife. Alexander, gritted teeth, Lena. His deep blue eyes darken with unspoken pain. His fingers tighten around the glass until it shatters, blood dripping from his palm. 2 years ago. A hidden chapel in Italy. Lena stood in a simple white dress, her heart pounding. She wasn't marrying just any man. She was marrying Alexander Knight, the billionaire who ruled New York's business empire and secretly controlled its underground world. Alexander, holding her hand. No matter what happens, you are mine, Lena. Even if the world never knows. You will always be my wife. He placed a delicate diamond ring on her finger, sealing a love that was never meant to exist in his world of power and deception. But that night, everything changed. A black SUV screeches to a stop. Lena is thrown inside. She struggles, screaming, but a man in a suit leans forward, his voice calm yet deadly. Mysterious man. You don't belong in Alexander's world. Consider yourself dead to him. The car speeds away. Lena's phone is snatched, her last message to Alexander deleted. And just like that, she was erased. Meanwhile, Alexander returned to their secret home that night, only to find it empty. No signs of struggle, no messages, nothing. Lena was gone. For months he searched for her. Destroyed anyone who tried to keep her away. But the deeper he dug, the clearer the truth became. His own family had betrayed him. His father, the powerful and ruthless William Knight, had orchestrated everything. And now Lena was just a ghost from his past. Or so he thought. Back to the present. Inside the mansion, Alexander grips the photograph tightly, his breathing ragged. Suddenly, the butler rushes in, his voice hesitant. Butler. Sir, there's someone at the gate. She says. She knows you. Alexander turns sharply. His heart pounds in his chest. He storms toward the massive glass doors, throwing them open. And then he sees her. Lena. Drenched in rain. Her once soft brown eyes now guarded, filled with years of pain. But what shocks him the most isn't just that she's alive. It's the small boy standing beside her. A boy with Alexander's icy blue eyes. A billionaire's lost love, secret child, and a battle against the past that refuses to stay buried. Rain pours heavily as Lena stands frozen, holding the hand of a small boy. His wide blue eyes, identical to Alexander's, stare curiously at the tall, powerful man before him. Alexander, stunned, voice low, Lena? Lena doesn't move. Her fingers tighten around the little boy's hand. The silence between them is suffocating, thick with unresolved pain. Alexander, voice sharper, stepping forward. Who is he? Lena inhales shakily but doesn't answer. Her heartbeat races. She had imagined this moment 1,000 times. What she would say, how she would react. But now that it was here, she felt completely unprepared. Lena, softly, his name is Theo. Alexander's eyes flicker with emotion, his fingers clenching into fists. He takes another step forward, his deep blue gaze locked onto the boy. Alexander. And his father? Lena's breath catches in her throat. She knew this question was coming. She knew she couldn't run anymore. Lena whispers, "You already know the answer." The moment the words leave her lips, Alexander feels the ground beneath him shift. His chest tightens. His hands shake. A storm brews in his eyes. Anger, shock, betrayal, but beneath it all, raw, aching love. A fire crackles in the fireplace, casting flickering shadows on the walls. Alexander stands with his back to Lena, a glass of whiskey untouched in his hand. His entire body is tense, his mind spinning. Alexander coldly. You disappeared for 2 years. You let me believe you were dead. And all this time, you were raising my son in secret. Lena closes her eyes. She had expected his rage, but hearing it still cuts through her like a knife. Lena. I didn't have a choice, Alexander. Your family. Alexander snaps, turning to face her. Don't blame my family for this, Lena. You should have come to me. Lena's eyes flash with anger. For the first time, she lifts her chin, refusing to be intimidated by the man who once owned her heart. Lena, firmly. I did come to you. That night I waited, but you never showed up. Instead, I was dragged away, threatened, and left with nothing but the clothes on my back. I was told you never wanted me. Alexander's breath hitches. His hands tremble as he pieces together the betrayal. Alexander whispers more to himself than her. They lied to you. They lied to me. The realization dawns on him. His own family had torn them apart. His fists clench as rage burns through him. He had destroyed men for far less. But now he was ready to burn everything down. Meanwhile, Theo sits on the couch, holding a small stuffed bear. He watches the two adults in silence, his small fingers fidgeting. Then, slowly, he stands and walks toward Alexander. Theo, innocently, are you my daddy? Alexander freezes. The walls he had built around himself, the anger, the pain, it all crumbles in a single heartbeat. He crouches to Theo's level, his deep blue eyes softening for the first time in years. Alexander, hoarse voice, yes, I am. Theo studies him for a moment, then, without hesitation, he reaches out and wraps his little arms around Alexander's neck. Alexander's breath catches. His arms slowly, hesitantly, close around his son, holding him as if he's afraid he might disappear. For the first time in years, Alexander Knight, the ruthless billionaire, feels something real. A man in a black suit watches through high-tech binoculars, a smirk playing on his lips. Unknown man on the phone, you were right. He's back. And she brought his son. A deep, menacing voice responds from the other end of the call. Then we have no choice. Make sure she doesn't leave that mansion alive. The rain has stopped, but inside the Grand Knight mansion, the storm is far from over. The fireplace crackles, casting flickering shadows on the walls. Lena sits stiffly on the couch, her damp clothes clinging to her skin. Across the room, Alexander stands by the window, his back turned, his shoulders tense as if carrying the weight of the past. Alexander, low, dangerous voice, who took you? Lena exhales shakily, her fingers curling into fists. She knew this moment would come. She had spent 2 years running, hiding, trying to protect Theo from the very world Alexander belonged to. Lena whispers, your father. Silence. A deadly, suffocating silence. Alexander's entire body goes still, his fingers tightening around the glass of whiskey in his hand. Then, crack! The glass shatters, amber liquid dripping onto the floor. Alexander, gritted teeth, my father did this? His voice is eerily calm, but Lena knows better. She sees the storm brewing in his blue eyes, the rage simmering beneath his cold exterior. Lena. He gave me a choice, leave and disappear, or watch you be destroyed. Alexander's jaw tightens, his breathing shallow. His father, William Knight, the ruthless billionaire who had built an empire from blood and betrayal, had taken everything from him. In the midst of the tension, a small voice breaks through. Theo, softly, Mommy. Lena instantly turns, her expression softening. Theo rubs his sleepy eyes, clutching his stuffed bear. He looks up at Alexander, curiosity in his blue gaze. Theo. Are we staying here now? Alexander crouches to Theo's level, studying his son, the boy he never knew he had. He had built empires, destroyed enemies, ruled over men. But this child, his own flesh and blood, was the one thing he had failed to protect. Alexander firmly, yes. You're staying here. Both of you. Lena stiffens. She wasn't ready for this. She had spent years keeping Theo away from this world. A world of power, greed, and danger. Lena, hesitant, Alexander, Alexander, cutting her off, voice steel. No one will take him from me. No one will take you from me again, Lena. Not my father. Not anyone. His words are a vow. A promise drenched in fury and love. Meanwhile, outside the mansion, in the dark surveillance van, the assassin watches. Assassin on the phone there inside. The boy too. A deep, ruthless voice responds from the other end. William Knight. End it. Tonight. The assassin smirks, pulling out a sleek silver gun, loading a silencer onto it. Inside the Grand Knight mansion, the tension is thick. Alexander stands near the fireplace. His jaw clenched, eyes dark with fury. The whiskey glass in his hand is forgotten, the amber liquid untouched. Across from him, Lena stands with her arms wrapped around herself, fear flickering in her eyes. Alexander, low, furious. He threatened you, to keep me away from my own family? Lena swallows hard, nodding. She knew the truth would destroy him, but she had no choice. Alexander's father had forced her to disappear, to erase herself from his life. Lena whispers, he said if I stayed, he'd kill you, Alex. Alexander's fingers tighten around the glass until, crack! It shatters, blood trickling down his palm. But he doesn't even flinch. Alexander, darkly. Then he just declared war. His voice is a dangerous whisper, but Lena knows what it means. Alexander isn't just a billionaire. He's a man who doesn't forgive. A man who takes back what's his. Meanwhile, the assassin moves closer. Outside the mansion, the assassin steps out of the dark van. His movements precise, calculated. He adjusts the silencer on his gun, his breath calm. The red dot of his scope flickers for a moment on the second-floor window. Through it he sees Lena, and the boy. Assassin to earpiece, smirking, target acquired. A deep voice responds from the other end. William Knight. William Knight. Take the shot. Make sure it looks like an accident. The assassin raises his gun, his finger resting lightly on the trigger. But just as he's about to pull it, inside, Alexander suddenly freezes. A sharp instinct, an unexplainable feeling, crawls up his spine. His eyes flick toward the window just in time to see a small red laser dot flicker on the glass. His heart stops for a fraction of a second, then it explodes into action. Alexander shouting, "Get down!" He lunges forward, grabbing Lena and Theo and pulling them to the floor just as, bang! A bullet shatters the window, glass flying everywhere. Theo screams, clutching his teddy bear. Lena gasps, her eyes wide with terror. Alexander shields them both with his body, his breathing heavy. Lena, panicked whisper, "Alex, what was that?" But Alexander already knows. Alexander, low, furious. "Someone just tried to kill you." The security alarms blare through the mansion. Outside, the assassin curses, realizing he missed. He turns, ready to escape, until a black Lamborghini screeches to a halt in front of him, headlights flashing like a predator's eyes. The car door swings open, and a tall figure steps out. "Bodyguard, coldly, boss is coming for you." The assassin's smirk fades. He knows what that means. Alexander Knight doesn't forgive. And he never lets his enemies live. Meanwhile, Lena clutches Theo, her hands trembling. This was exactly what she had feared. She had left to protect him, but now the danger had followed them. Lena whispers, terrified, "Alex, he won't stop. Your father, he'll never stop." Alexander turns, his face unreadable. But his next words send shivers down her spine. Alexander, deadly calm, "Neither will I." His blue eyes are ice cold, his body language screaming revenge. Alexander. You and Theo are mine, Lena. And I'll burn this world down before I let anyone take you away from me again. Lena's breath catches. She had once loved this man's protectiveness. But now, she wasn't sure if she should be terrified of him, or terrified for him. The night air is thick with tension. The assassin stumbles through the dark alley, his breath uneven. His hand grips his silenced pistol, but for the first time in his career, fear crawls up his spine. Behind him, the unmistakable sound of expensive Italian shoes hitting the pavement sends a chill through him. He knows who it is. He knows what it means. Alexander Knight. A powerful billionaire who doesn't forgive, and never lets his enemies walk away alive. Alexander, calm, deadly. You had one shot. The assassin whirls around, his gun raised, but before he can blink, bang! A bullet tears through his shoulder. He stumbles, his scream swallowed by the alley's darkness. Alexander steps closer, his blue eyes cold, his gun steady. Blood drips from his knuckles from the shattered whiskey glass earlier, but he doesn't care. Alexander, low, dangerous. Who sent you? The assassin coughs, clutching his bleeding shoulder. He knows the truth will get him killed faster, but silence will get him killed worse. Assassin, panting. William Knight. Alexander's jaw tightens. His father. The rage inside him simmers to a deadly calm. He lowers his gun, only to grab the assassin by his collar and slam him against the brick wall. Alexander, darkly. Then you can deliver a message for me. The assassin gasps for air, his body shaking. Alexander leans in. His voice a whisper of pure danger. Alexander. Tell him. I'm coming. He releases the assassin, who crumples to the ground, barely alive. Alexander turns, walking away like a king leaving a battlefield. His mind already on his next move. Lena sits on the bed in the dimly lit master bedroom, her heart pounding. Theo sleeps beside her, his tiny hand gripping his teddy bear. She brushes a gentle hand through his curls, her chest tightening with emotion. The gunshot from earlier still rings in her ears. She knows Alexander will never stop fighting for them. But that's what terrifies her the most. Lena whispers to herself, if I stay, he'll never be safe. Tears well in her eyes as she makes the hardest decision of her life. She leans down and kisses Theo's forehead, her heart breaking. Then, quietly, she reaches for her suitcase. Dressed in a simple black coat, Lena carefully carries Theo down the grand staircase. Every shadow in the mansion feels like Alexander is watching. She clutches her son tighter, whispering soft reassurances in his ear. She reaches the front door and hesitates. Her hands tremble on the doorknob. She swallows hard, her heart hammering against her ribs. If she leaves now, she may never see Alexander again. A single tear slips down her cheek. Then, with a deep breath, she turns the knob. Going somewhere. She freezes. Slowly, she turns to see Alexander standing in the shadows at the top of the stairs. His blue eyes unreadable. His black shirt is slightly unbuttoned. His sleeves rolled up, revealing his tensed forearms. His jaw is clenched, his entire body radiating silent fury. For a long moment, neither of them move. The silence is deafening. Alexander, low, dangerous. You were going to take my son, and just disappear? Lena's lips part, but no words come out. Her throat is dry, her heart shattering. Lena, soft, pleading. Alex. I have to protect him. His eyes darken. He steps down the stairs, slow, predatory, until he stands just inches from her. He looks at Theo, his son, his blood, and something in his gaze softens. But then he looks at Lena, and his possession burns through the softness. Alexander whispers, deadly calm. You think I can't protect my own family? Lena blinks back, tears, her resolve breaking. But before she can answer, Alexander does something that shakes her to her core. He cups her face, his thumb brushing against her trembling lips. His touch is both gentle and dangerously possessive. Alexander whispers against her lips. You are mine, Lena. Her breath hitches. Alexander. Theo is mine. She shudders, emotions crashing into her. Alexander, final, unshakable. And you are never running from me again. Lena's world spins. Because deep down, she knows he's right. The air is thick with tension. Lena stands frozen, her pulse racing as Alexander's words echo in her mind. Alexander low, commanding, marry me again, Lena. His deep voice is calm, but his eyes, his piercing blue eyes, hold something she hasn't seen before. Silent plea. A vulnerability he never shows. Lena's hands tremble at her sides. Her heart says one thing, but her mind screams another. How can she trust him again? How can she believe that this time he won't break her? She swallows hard, her voice barely above a whisper. Lena, you think you can force me? Alexander exhales sharply, stepping closer. His fingers brushing a stray tear from her cheek. His touch is gentle, almost reverent, as if she's something fragile, something precious. Alexander, soft, almost desperate. I don't want to force you, Lena. I can't lose you again. Her breath catches. There's something different in his voice. Not dominance, not possession, but something deeper, something terrifying. Real love. Alexander steps even closer, his warmth wrapping around her like a shield. He tilts her chin up, forcing her to meet his gaze. His touch is strong, yet heartbreakingly tender. Alexander whispers, raw emotion in his voice. You once loved me enough to be my wife. Can you love me again? Lena's chest tightens. He's never asked her anything like this before. He's always been the man who takes what he wants. But now he's asking. He's begging. And it's shaking her entire world. Memories rush back like a tidal wave. Late-night whispers. Stolen kisses. Alexander pressing his forehead against hers. Whispering mine, as if she was the only thing keeping him breathing. She remembers the way he used to look at her, like she was his greatest treasure. The way his touch would send fire through her veins. The way he used to kiss her like he was afraid she would disappear. But then, she remembers the pain. The loneliness. The nights she cried herself to sleep because he wasn't there. Lena whispers, heartbroken, you let me go once, Alex. His jaw tightens. His hands tremble slightly as he cups her face. His breath warm against her lips. Alexander, soft, regretful. And it was the biggest mistake of my life. Lena's lips part. She's never heard him admit he was wrong. Never seen this side of him. The side that isn't a ruthless billionaire but just a man. A man who once had everything and lost it. Before she can respond, he does something reckless. Something dangerous. Something that destroys her resolve. He kisses her. It's not rough. It's not demanding. Slow, deep, filled with longing. A kiss that feels like a silent apology. A kiss that says everything he's too afraid to put into words. Lena's hands press against his chest, her mind screaming at her to push him away. But her body, her heart, they betray her. Because deep down she knows she still belongs to him. When he finally pulls away, his forehead rests against hers, his breath uneven. Alexander whispers, broken, stay. Marry me, Lena. And I swear, this time I'll love you the way you deserve. Lena is drowning in emotions. Her heart is shattering and rebuilding at the same time. She knows she should run. She should hate him for all the pain he caused her. But love isn't logical. And her heart, it still beats for him. Her voice is barely a whisper, but it's enough to change everything. Lena, one condition. Alexander stiffens, as if afraid of what she'll say. His hands tighten around hers. Lena, no secrets, no lies. If I say yes, I need all of you, Alex. Not just the parts you want me to see. His throat bobs. His grip tightens. And for the first time, Alexander Knight, the cold, ruthless billionaire, looks truly afraid. Because he knows there's one secret that could destroy them forever. Will Alexander tell Lena the truth? Or will his past ruin everything? Is this love real or just another trap? What secret is Alexander hiding that could destroy them both? The next episode will reveal everything. But only if you subscribe.